Howdy folks, I'm Creative Centerpiece, carefully centering chewy cookies.
I'm Amber.
And here are more chewy cookies for us to center ourselves around because we've got a little bit of a sweet tooth for Reddit stories. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Holding a Grudge About a Wedding Dress? Throwaway account. I'm a 32-year-old female and I've been married for 5 years to my husband Adam, a 34-year-old male, who I was with for 3 years before the marriage. By the time I met Adam's side of the family, we were already officially together for 8 months, and by the time that we were 2 years into the relationship, I was regularly invited to monthly brunches with mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and mother-in-law's 2 nieces. I loved how welcoming they all were, and I can't recall a time where there were any major issues. Sister-in-law is a dress designer, and her bread and butter are wedding dresses, prom dresses, and homecoming dresses. In Adam's family, his grandmother was a seamstress during her life. She helped design or make a wedding dress for the women of the family. By the time she passed, sister-in-law took up the mantle and designed dresses for the women in the family. A couple months before Adam proposed, he started making comments and jokes about sister-in-law designing a dress for me, and sister-in-law would just smile and laugh. Now, I wasn't so entitled to think that sister-in-law owed me a free dress like everyone else, but I did assume that she would make one for me. Shortly after Adam proposed, I went over to sister-in-law's place to get an estimate for her services so that I could plan and budget for it, and she told me that she was booked for months and wouldn't be able to make such a dress for me. I was sad, but I respected her choice and defended her when Adam tried to get me to make me a dress. I still had her in my bridal party, never once made comments about her not making me a dress, and maintained grace and politeness. Everything went well and we moved on. However, recently it was revealed at a family gathering that sister-in-law had lied and that she just didn't want to make me a dress, and I was hurt. She kept avoiding the subject until one day when my friend and sister cornered her. Then she confessed that she didn't like how I had assumed that I would get a dress from her and thought that I would be an epic bridezilla, mega B, and she didn't want to go through the hassle of making a dress for a woman that she didn't see Adam being with for the long term. I asked her why she thought that, and what about me gave off that entitled person's energy. I also reminded her that I asked her privately for the cost of her services. She shrugged and said that's just how she felt at the time, and admitted that she couldn't fully justify her reasoning and did feel bad about it later. She apologized, and while I did accept it, I'm still upset. The problem is now that sister-in-law needs to have a surgery and will need someone to care for her for at least a week afterwards. I have a flexible work from home schedule, and I was going to do a bulk of her care, but now I don't really want to. Adam is on my side, but sister-in-law and mother-in-law think that I am being too petty. Am I a jerk? Edit to add, since someone just mentioned, I wanted to be clear. The wedding itself was 5 years ago, but I didn't find out the reason as to why she didn't want to make me a dress until recently. I felt obligated to say that I forgave her, even though I didn't. Alright, folks, what do you think?
I mean, I don't think Opie's a jerk for declining to give care. She thought that they were closer than it turns out sister-in-law felt they were, and this has been sprung on Opie very recently, so she still needs time to process this. You know, Opie, sister-in-law has known for 5 years why she didn't do this, but Opie is only learning now.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really difficult situation because it sounds like OP had agreed to take care of her up until very recently. And that can really throw a wrench into people's plans here. And so I can understand why everyone would be kind of upset. But I do agree, like, sister-in-law had a lot of time to sit and think about this and, contemplate these feelings, whereas OP has had very little time to think about this.
Right.
I think that OP might be putting a little too much weight onto it at this point in time because it happened a long time ago at this point in time, and sister-in-law does feel bad about it and says that she felt bad about it. And clearly she misjudged the situation because OP is still together with the husband. She wasn't an entitled bride. And so sometimes, the best revenge is to live a life well, right? And I can understand why OP would be upset, but I mean, I don't know that I would personally hold it against her unless sister-in-law has made additional jabs at her in the time since then.
I mean, it's really hard to trust, though, like whether a sister-in-law sincerely feels bad or she just needs a caretaker. Like, it kind of it was one of those things that shakes your trust in the relationship in a fundamental way.
Yeah.
To know that she once saw OP as essentially a gold digger who wasn't going to stick around with her brother.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, that's not a good look at all, right?
And I mean, I think when people agree to care for someone, there's generally the assumption that there's some kind of mutual trust and support in the relationship. OP may not be a good caretaker if she's not feeling okay with sister-in-law right now. So it may even be in sister-in-law's best interest to get a caretaker who is at least neutral toward her.
Yeah, I mean, and that's perfectly fair too, right? I just have a really hard time with the situation, and I think it's going to be a difficult one to judge. And I think that a lot of people are probably going to have a lot of mixed feelings about this one because it isn't like a very clear or straightforward type of situation. And I certainly feel bad for the sister-in-law, but I also feel very bad for OP here, right? So it's a challenging situation. And I mean, certainly, like if OP feels like they're going to be a bad caretaker in that period of time, then they certainly shouldn't do it, right? Because there's if she can't put her feelings aside and she does a poor job of helping to care for somebody, then that's not a good position to put somebody in either.
Well, there's very clearly some resentment there
Yeah.
right now. And, even if OP tries to put those feelings aside, you never know when that resentment's going to come in. Is she going to be slower to respond to sister-in-law's calls? Is she going to, you know, it's again, I think in everyone's best interest that sister-in-law find a different caretaker and they can try and work things out later.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Steve Bonzales says, not the jerk. Her reasoning seems spiteful, and I don't care how concerned she was. Telling the reason now is purely designed to hurt you. She's not the friend that you thought that she was. Frankly, I'm surprised that she was willing to be in your wedding party with the sentiments that she expressed. I certainly wouldn't be cruel, but I wouldn't go out of my way for her. You just found out that you weren't friends, rather cordial, distant family. I don't know. I feel like she was forced to tell OP. I don't feel like that she pulled this out of her hat to tell OP. I feel like she was cornered and kind of forced to bring out the truth.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely was forced out. The truth was forced out of her. But it seems like everyone except for OP knew something was up. She didn't hide it very well, and they've been pressuring her for years, and now it just finally came to the surface. But that doesn't like change how OP feels in the moment.
No, no, no. And OP replies, honestly, with this new revelation, I think that maybe she felt obligated, just like I feel obligated to say that I forgave her. And Expensive Visual 594 says, I don't think that you have any obligations here, unless you're oblivious to the possibility that you're just a raging jerk. It wasn't nice of her, and I wouldn't feel bad. And OP replies, I honestly can't think of anything that I asked sister-in-law for. She admitted that I personally never did anything to make her feel that way. She just did at the time. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Walking Out of an Intervention? I'm a 36-year-old female, and I've been married to John, a 43-year-old male, for 5 years. We have a great relationship apart from his mother, Sarah. Sarah has this issue with me, as I like to occasionally have a drink, as most grown adults do. Yesterday I sat down and I had a glass of wine while she was over visiting, and she took offense, claiming that I was pressuring her. I find this mildly ridiculous as I didn't announce that I was drinking, and I didn't offer as I know that she doesn't drink. She left not long after, though she threw around the words alcoholic, drunkard, and my personal favorite, boozer. Which brings us to today. I came home from work at 4:30 and I walked into a circle of people including Sarah, John, John's sister, and all of Sarah's friends. There was an empty foldable chair left for me. Sarah encouraged me to sit, which I didn't. To which she claimed, see, too drunk to even sit. I laughed at that, and then I got nasty looks shot at me. She began saying that she dumped out all of my booze, including the unopened bottle my father bought for me in Mexico. I was astounded at the fact that she had the nerve to do that, and the fact that John let it happen. They began talking about me as though I wasn't there, mentioning my evening drinks and how it was unhealthy. Then I got handed a pamphlet to an alcoholics rehab center. I threw it back on the table and they all hummed as if they expected it. One of Sarah's friends piped up even saying, I was there once too, drinking is terrible for you. You want to have kids one day, boom, drinking gets in the way. Paraphrased. I laughed at this and I told them to leave. They all looked to John, who shrugged. Then I said, either you all go or I will. And if I'm the one that was walking out, then we're done, to John. I looked around at the pitying looks, except for John, who hung his head. I left. From my car, I texted John and a lawyer. John's excuse was, well, she's my mom. I can't do anything. Sarah then started texting, claiming that divorce isn't the answer and rehab is. I'm not an alcoholic. I have a glass of wine on some nights, and that's it. I don't party, I don't black out, nothing like that. I told her that she needs to find God or a good therapist. John seems to think that this will all blow over, but it will not. I'm done. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. This is really a husband problem more than anything. It seems like he is letting his mom trample all over your house and boundaries. Like, she poured out your alcohol without your consent, and your husband let her do that. She and her friends decided to stage an intervention, and he let it happen. Regardless of whether or not OP has problems with substances, it's still like the way it's been handled is his mom steamrolling everything. Now, if OP is having a glass of wine every few nights, like, that's something that a lot of people do, and
Yeah.
not rehab territory.
No.
So I just feel like OP's husband has shown that he is not trustworthy, that he will not stand up when his mom does things that are inappropriate, and that why would OP want to stay married to someone who's so spineless?
Yeah. Well, I will say that alcohol can be a very dangerous substance, right? I mean, being addicted to alcohol can even be worse. And, I do think that anyone who is in a position where people are claiming that they might have a problem with their use of alcohol should take some time to reflect on that and really get to the bottom and, talk to trusted individuals about their drinking habits, right? And especially their doctor, but honestly and openly. Now, as for this intervention, where were OP's friends and family and support, right?
Well, that's the thing about interventions is they're supposed to be done by people who care about you, not random strangers who are your mother-in-law's friends.
Yeah. So this wasn't an intervention for OP. This was just a way for mother-in-law to kind of exalt herself in front of her friends.
That's kind of how the vibe I get too, is that it's a performance for her friends, and to maybe even make OP look bad in front of John.
Yeah. And probably I don't know. I mean, I feel like she would want OP to divorce John, right? But then she's trying to claim that OP shouldn't divorce her. Like, I really feel like this is the kind of action you take if you want your daughter-in-law not to be your daughter-in-law.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be that she's super controlling and can't then, like, the goal was to get OP to fall in line. And she thought, forcing OP to rehab would make her fall in line.
Yeah.
And then things didn't go according to plan, but she can't, like, I don't know what her motive is, but it seems very strange.
It is. It does. It does. And one more thing I just want to say is I hope OP can sue mother-in-law in small claims and get her alcohol at least recovered cost-wise.
Yeah, well, it's not going to help the sentimental
No.
aspect or anything like that, but
Certainly not.
certainly mother-in-law needs to face consequences for destroying someone else's property.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Comfortable C2454 says, not the jerk. You have a husband problem and you're taking care of it. John is already married to his mom and he will never stand up for you. Good luck, OP. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for kicking out the real estate lawyer that my fiance brought to my house? I'm a female and I've been with my fiance, Scott, for 5 years. And I've lost my mom, who was my remaining parent 7 months ago. She left me her house and I became the official owner 3 months ago. This is when Scott proposed to me and we got engaged, although he wanted to wait before we got engaged. But he said that me owning a house now made him feel like we were ready to be married. A few days ago, he suggested that I add his name onto the title of the house, and he has been persistent about it. He explained that this step was necessary to ensure the balance in our relationship and marriage, even though I never made him feel like he's inferior or anything like that. Oh, and I make more money than him by way more, so I don't get how adding his name onto this house title would change anything. But since he insisted, and since we've been together for so long, and we're engaged now, I decided to do it, but only after we get married. He disagreed and insisted that we get it done before we get married. After a lot of back and forth on this, I told him to drop it and we'll wait till marriage. Well, yesterday, I was surprised to see that he brought a real estate lawyer into the house. Not only that, he said that he's arranged for legal process to start now. I was completely shocked because I've never agreed to hire a lawyer, let alone bring him to the house. I immediately asked the lawyer to leave. He tried to speak, but I told him that he needed to leave now. Scott remained quiet till the lawyer left, and then he gave me a look and told me that what I did was selfish and disrespectful, not to the lawyer, but to him and what we agreed on. I told him that his pushing me made me reconsider the whole thing now, and he looked shocked and hurt and then stormed out. We continued fighting over the phone, and he didn't stop talking about how stubborn and selfish I have been lately. He said that he was trying his best to provide a stable living situation for us before we get married, but I was being uncooperative. After that, he completely ignored my calls. Was I in the wrong for what I did? All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk, and honestly, dump him. Like, it is very clear that he is just using you. He wants to get the title on your house so that he has equity in it and can get money out of it. He has no intention of marrying you. He just likes you because you're a meal ticket.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm afraid of, is that he doesn't want to actually marry OP, and that's why he's trying to get his name onto the house now. And so that when he gets his name onto the house, he can just be like, oh, actually, I was thinking about it. Now isn't the right time for us to get married. Why don't we get married in 5 years or something like that?
Right, or he might even just split with OP and be like, oh, we gotta sell the house and I'll just take my half. Bye.
Yeah.
Like, if he genuinely was invested in OP, then it wouldn't matter to him so much whether his name was on the title after marriage or not.
Yeah.
You know, I understand wanting to have your name on a title once you're married, as like, so you have equity in the relationship. You know, especially if there's a big imbalance, like you have someone who's a stay-at-home mom or something like that. But this just screams like he wants OP's money and assets.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what this feels like. And I hope that OP doesn't get back together with this guy and that this relationship is over, because, I mean, like, his whole excuse here at the end where he's like, he's just trying to provide a stable living situation for us. What does that even mean? There is a stable living situation.
Right. Like his name not being on the title does not mean he can't move in there and live there.
Yeah.
You know, he's acting like he's creating this house, and it's like, you already have the house through OP. And I also, you know, he's being very controlling and manipulative here, bringing in a lawyer without OP's consent after she explicitly said she was not comfortable with this, and just telling her, oh, we started the process, like trying to steamroll her.
Yeah, and that right there is very controlling behavior. So I really do hope that OP does not get involved with this person again. I hope things are over. And he's going to try using guilt at this point in time and manipulation to try getting OP to agree to this.
Well, he's already doing that. He's trying to change the past, like, oh, you're breaking the terms of our agreement. OP has been very clear, not until after marriage, and he's trying to make it like, you're violating the agreement we had.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Harry Capital 3374 says, not the jerk, huge red flag. I hope you don't add him. He is looking for a payout. And OP replies, I did want to add him, but on the condition that we get married first. But I'm reconsidering the whole thing now. At the same time, I'm worried that it might impact our relationship and the wedding. Good.
It needs to. Those need to end.
And Kozan says, not the jerk, he's clearly wanting a piece of your property, likely through a divorce. Do not marry him and do not get pregnant. Run. I mean, I don't think that he's looking for a divorce.
That's the thing that's baffling. Is like, it doesn't even seem like he's trying to, it just seems like he wants a quick buck through the house.
Yeah. I think that, honestly, he's just looking to call off the wedding and say, get cold feet or something like that.
Right. Like, he doesn't propose until OP has a house, and then, oh, well, I need to be on the title right now because otherwise I can't provide us a stable living environment.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're fiancés right now, right? So he's already proposed.
Well, he didn't, though, until, like, she got the house.
Yeah.
He was like,
oh, I see what you're saying
we're
now.
not ready. Oh, but now you have the house, we are.
Yeah. And Brody 19791A says, Scott is trying to pressure OP into something that benefits him, not her. His actions are more about securing his financial position than building a life with OP. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here. And Amber, she has a joke.
I try not to tell my jokes near glass. I just know it would crack up.
Ah, that's really good. That's not too bad. It really isn't too bad. And I have Earl Grey. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Spectacular Saturday, folks. I hope your Saturday is off to a spectacular start. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on real estate.
If your partner starts trying to make decisions about your real estate without your consent, it's time to run.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.